So today we're going to continue working on solving quadratic equations using factoring and the zero product property. So you'll see that if you go to our class page, right, always in the most current week's work, right, in the most current week's channel, Thursday's work, right, the work for today is just page 1 of week 7 problems, questions 11 through 15, right? So we've been working on page 1 since Tuesday. So by the end of today, right, looking at page 1, this is page 1 of the homework. So we're doing 11 through 15. So by the end of today, we should be done with page 1. Right? This is a really important skill that we're going to need for the rest of our high school mathematics career, knowing how to factor and solve equations using the zero product property. All right, and then tomorrow we're going to be moving on to graphing. So that's what the week will look like. So moving on, remember that, right, we only have to do this. There is no Khan Academy work or no Khan Academy video attached to this lesson. And yeah, so moving on to the actual homework help. Oh yeah, and just other stuff in the week's channel. Let's remember to mark yourself present in the attendance post. You could watch the YouTube recordings of any classes that you missed. Right. And then we have, right, we're still on page 1. So if you need further assistance, you could look at the page 1 examples, or you could watch the video from Khan Academy on Tuesday, do the practice problems. Right. So all this stuff are resources that'll help us learn this new material that we're supposed to learn. So for the homework help, okay, so I am going to be doing problems 13, 14, and 15. So leave a little bit of space for you guys to do 11 and 12, because those are the problems that I'm leaving for you guys to do. But moving on to 13, right, and then notice these problems, right? One of them equals 0, one of them does not equal 0. So remember what all 3 of these examples are when it doesn't equal 0, right? Does not equal 0, does not equal 0, does not equal 0. So, right, remember, that's when you use that one extra step. This problem will be just like how we did like problems 1 and 2, or like how we did problems 7 and 8. Right, so now moving on to the actual problems. All right, problem 13, like I said, where we're going to start. So remember, it does not equal 0. Does not equal 0. As a general rule, I like to move everything to the x squared side. So I'm going to make this side equal 0 and move everything from here to the other side. So we're going to do the opposite of positive 2 and the opposite of positive 9, which is minus 2 and minus 9x, right? So now the left side is going to equal 0. And when I say the right side, I'm going to say 5x squared minus 9x minus 2. Just get it in the easier order that we're used to, because remember that it's always easier when it goes x squared, x constant. That is our normal form for a quadratic, right? Because then we know that it's going to be the first term and the last term going in the corners. Right? If we wrote it like 5x squared minus 2x minus 9x, we would have messed things up if we put 9x in the corner here. Okay, so and then we multiply them together, 5x and negative 2, to get negative 10x. So we put the first and the last in the corners, 5x squared and negative 2. We multiplied 5x squared and negative 2 together, and we got negative 10x. Right, then we want to put the middle term down in the bottom. So now we're looking for factors of negative 10x squared that add to negative 9x. Right, so is it negative 1 and 10x, which gives us 9x, right? That's close, but we want negative 9x, right? So remember, if the, right, whatever this, we're using the same two numbers, so right, and then remember that when you add them together, the sum will take the sign of the biggest addend. Right, so here, 10 is biggest, and it's positive, so we get positive 9x. But here, right, the biggest addend is negative 10, so it'll be negative 9x, which is what we wanted. We could fill in 1x and negative 10x, and 1x and negative 10x. Now we got to find the greatest common factor, right? Going down. Oops. So going down, right? They both have an x. And the only number that goes into 5 and 1, right? 1 is, the only number that goes into 1 is 1, right? And 1 also goes into 5x. So we could put a 1x here or just an x. And going across, right, they both have an x and x squared. And we could think about what number goes into 5 and negative 10? 5. Right, so there's a 5 and an x. Right here, there's just an x. Here we could pull out an x and a 5. So now the 5x drops, goes across, x drops down, right? How many times does 5x go into negative 10x? Negative 2 times. Right, drop the negative 2. Negative 2 times what is negative 2? Positive 1. Drop the positive 1 over. And then we got, right, 5x plus 1, and x minus 2 is our length and width. So now, right, we have it in our parentheses, right? We have a product of two different things equals 0, i.e. we could use the zero product property and break this up into two problems. So we have 5x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 2 equals 0. Here we're going to minus 1 from both sides. Here we're going to add 2 to both sides. So we get, right, cancel these guys out. So we get 5x equals negative 1, or x equals 2. Right, we're done with this problem right here. Now we just got to do this one by dividing by 5 on both sides. And then we got our answer. So moving on to the next problem. We have 2x squared minus 5x equals 3. So let's just start off by, right, we want it to equal 0, not 3. It's a 0 product property, not the 3 product property. So we're going to say minus 3 on both sides. So we get 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. Remember, you can't just say that minus 5x minus 3 is going to give you like minus 8x. You can't combine them. You just got to add it on to the end. So now we put the first and the last in the corners. 2x squared and minus 3. And then 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. Right, we put the negative 5x on the bottom, so now we're trying to think about what multiplies to negative 6x squared and adds to 5x. Right, 1x, negative 1x and 6x gives us 5x. Right, we want negative 5x. So we know that when we switch the negative, we're going to get negative 5x. Right, so there we go. So we could fill in with 1x and negative 6x. Same thing in our generic rectangle, 1x and negative 6x. Same. So going down, they both have an x. And right, the smallest number is a 1. Right, so 1 goes into 1 and 2, right? So we could say a 1x here, just x, going across, right? They both have an x. And does 2 go into 6? Yeah, so we could pull out an x and a 2. So now we drop it down, drop it across. How many times does 2x go into negative 6x? Negative 3 times. So then we can drop it down. Negative 3 times what is negative 3? We want it to stay the same, so we should put a positive 1 right there. Drop it across, and we got our length and our width. 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. So now we can fill it into our answers. 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. Alright, so now we're going to, we have the product of two things equals 0, so we could use the 0 product property. 2x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0. Right, so for this equation, we're going to say minus 1 and minus 1 on both sides. Okay, here we're going to say plus 3 and plus 3. Because we want to make these guys cancel out. Right, so now we're just going to be left with 2x equals negative 1, or x equals 3. Right, this side's done. But for this side, we got to divide by 2 on both sides. So after that, we get x equals negative 1/2. Alright, so we just got one more problem that we're going to do with you guys, and then you guys got to work on problems 11 and 12. So we're going to do this problem. So just like before, let's move everything to the x squared side, right? So we're going to say minus 45 and plus 4x on both sides to make this side equal 0. Right? So we're going to say x squared plus 4x minus 45 to get it in the right order. Right? And these cancel out and these cancel out, leaving us just with 0. So now we put the first and the last in the corners. X squared and minus 45. Multiply x squared and minus 45 together, we get negative 45x squared. The middle term goes down on the bottom. So now we're looking for factors of negative 45x squared that add to 4x. Right? Is it negative 1x and 45x? Nope. Oops. Nope, because that's 44x. Right, switch it up, we get negative 44x. Negative 3x and 15x gives us 12x, right? Not what we want. We switch up the negatives, so we get negative 12x. 9x, negative 5x and 9x gives us 4x. That's what we wanted. So we could fill it in with negative 5x and 9x. Which means we could also fill in our generic rectangle with negative 5x and 9x. Right, this is x squared. Right, so there's just going to be an x and x up here. Right, because the greatest common factor going down is x. The greatest common factor going across is x. Drop down our x's. Right, x times what is 9x? Positive 9. Drop it down. 9 times what is negative 45? Negative 5. Right, which is good because x times negative 5 is negative 5x. So now we got our length and our width, x plus 9 and x minus 5. So let's go and fill it in here. So we have the product of two things. The product of x plus 9 and x minus 5 equals 0. So using the 0 product property, we know that either x plus 9 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. Here we just say minus 9 from both sides. Here we're just going to say plus 5 and plus 5 on both sides. Right, to make those guys next to the x's cancel out, we're left with our final answer. X equals negative 9 or x equals 5. So that's our work for today. Remember, you guys still got to work on problems 11 and 12. And you could look at the page 1 examples for help. You could watch the Khan Academy video from Tuesday for help. And you could watch the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday's homework help that I posted below the classes on our page.